Good morning, Doug. I thought I would just make a little video of the bits and pieces that I have around on dragging components around on the screen. So this is my group builder from a couple of years ago. I'll just take you through the steps that get me to the page of interest. So we're doing a sign in. I've got a little magic login here. So here are the projects. So this is all about building groups for group work projects. So you imagine a student is logged in here. So technical report 2, it is busy at the moment soliciting students for who they want to work with. But here's a project that's currently running. If I look at that, these are all the people in my current group, and I want to add some of them as favorites. I want to work with Ahmed again, Seeb, and Maram. Get rid of those. So they go into a kind of favorites. It's all pretend, it's not actually working. And then if we go into the project that's soliciting for group members, go there, we get this panel here. And I've got my favorites down one side. They're all hard-coded in reality. And on the other side, I have this search facility. So I'm typing in AHM and all the other AHM names pop up here. And the proposed members panel here, this is the droppable component, and these are all draggable components. I'll show you the code later. So I can drag in my favorites in here. I definitely want to work with those guys, and I also know that I want to work with Akhtar and Sarah. Pop that in there, and that's how I've built my group. Okay, so let's go and show you where the code is and how that relates to those particular errors. I'll just make everything a bit smaller, go back in here. Here is my hard-coded stuff again. So the code is in a repository called Group Builder. So that is, that is here. So here are, here's my GitHub. So in repositories, there's a new one called Group Builder. Now this code here, the draggable elements lives. There's quite a lot of code in here, so I'm not going to go through it. Just take you to the bit that's important. So within pages, I've got my groups. So this is all code that in the olden days before I discovered the entities folder, I used to put it in here, which all messed up by pages. Okay, so the one we're after here is my links card. So this is a links card over here. So my links card. Okay, and the features that we're going to load in here, the components, the reusable components that we're going to load in here, are these draggable and droppable components. So these are decorators. I didn't know they were called decorators at the time, but they're decorators, and I'll take you to those in a minute. But just to take you through the card, so the component here, we load in a particular project. So all of this is just loading in a particular project. And then here is the render. So it's a big card, and it has some gubbins at the top, just explaining things. And then down here, we have an area. Code's got messed up slightly. An area here called my a favorites pane. Okay, so this is a favorites pane in here within a main, and it has, in this case, a hard-coded list of draggable items. So this is the decorator, draggable, and it's used to wrap. So it's children. In this case, it's just a string with a favorite component at the end. So this is pre-heart days for me. So these are draggable items, which are names which have been marked as favorite. And then down at the bottom here, we have another area. This is my pretend search area. So down here we have another set of items, draggable items, which live down here. And the draggable decorator is again just wrapping names, in this case with no favorites. So the area that we want to drag items into, so let's drag something from the favorites and drag something from my search area. They're being dropped into this area here, my droppable area. Okay, so this is probably not really this is not really a decorator actually. This is just a component. And it has a class name, droppable region, which just simply just makes this all purpley and pretty and dotted and all the rest of it. It's not really doing anything other than that. So we have these classes, draggable, which are essentially decorators that wrap things and make them draggable. And we have a droppable region. Okay, so we get those from a component in my UI folder. So let's go there. So here's my drag and drop. So in here I have two components. One is called draggable and the other one is called droppable. And let's go to the draggable one first. So that's just a div which is used to wrap the children, if you remember those names with the /fav component. So the hard work is this single line here, draggable equals true. So that's the thing that turns this div, which is wrapping children, its children, it turns it into something that you can move around the screen. So draggable equals true. So that's really the only clever bit. I just used that to create a decorator here that allows me to move around anything. Within it, you might want to just learn that and attach it to things. So when you put draggable equals true, that means you can start moving it around. Now, if we look at the droppable area, so nothing really happens there. All objects are droppable. So we can drop onto, we drop onto anything. It wouldn't necessarily stay there. So to make something that can accept something being dropped on it, we have this callback called called allow drop. So on drag over, so it's just like on click or any of these other things. So on drag over is a special label, and to it you can attach this function allow drop, and that just allows you to pull something, drag it on top of something else, and then normally the page would re-render. So we prevent that just by simply calling this function. So that's all that does. So you could actually just move that code down here, just hide it down here and make this much simpler. So the only other things are the handlers. Okay, so these two events, I've completely forgotten how this works, but these two things have to talk to each other, and they do so using this code here. So handle drag, which you attach here to on drag start. So when it's called, it starts basically transferring data between these two components. I actually can't remember, but all of this stuff here is important. So when you start dragging this thing, this function is called. And then down here, when you do a drop, when you let the mouse go and you drop the thing on here, this function is called. And again, it prevents, maybe you don't need those two things, I'm not absolutely sure, but then it prevents the re-render, and it talks to the other component through the event. And when you drag something into here, you will want to make it so that it does something to some state variable somewhere. You're updating that this is a proposed member. So you might post, for instance, to a /member of a particular group and then an ID of a user. So you're going to have to pass into these components some on drop functions of your own, and then you'll have to call them, you actually beyond the droppable here, you'll have to call them down here. And you can get at these IDs of those components. So we go back to the code here. So we have these IDs. So you can use those IDs, and these IDs here have to be unique not just in the list, but across the whole program. So you have to come up with some sensible names. Again, I'm guessing that. I'm not entirely sure. And you can also attach to here. So this is where you would want to put your on drop. Or would it be here? Or would it be in the droppable? I'm not absolutely sure. I can't remember. Let's put it down here for a minute. So here's your droppable. So on drop. And then you've got some handle drop of your own. Which up here, handle drop. Yeah, there. Handle drop. I'm not worried about the coding here. Hand drop. And it's going to basically play around with state or do any fetching, you know, a post that you want to do or something. And you'll have to get various IDs, and maybe you'll make it so you could pass. What could you do? I'm not absolutely sure, but you're going to have to pass information around about the user ID, for instance, here, in order that you can get access to it so that you can do these fetches. So that's a couple of years since I did this, and I never did anything clever enough with it to be able to help you there. But nonetheless, you've got these draggable items, and you can move things around and drop them on a particular area. You've got a droppable area. You can create a handle drop function that controls what happens when it actually drops. You can use the draggable as a decorator, and you can create this droppable area where you want to put things. Okay, so that's as much help as I can give you at the moment. Perhaps later on in the year I'll come back to this stuff because it looks really great. See you later, Tug.